casting the players that are going to the WBC and the players that are going into spring training that will be seen by OLi Marmol every day. And that also comes into play when it comes to the rule changes, because these MLB rule changes are not affecting the World Baseball Classic. So my big question was, how is that going to determine how OLi will grade a player? And obviously performance is a whole thing. So if somebody in the WBC just completely flubs and doesn't play well, then I guess they don't get a spot. But at the same time, like, it's different competition, different mindsets going into each game. Like a spring training game doesn't have the same mindset as a tournament game. I'm just really kind of at a loss as to how all these guys are competing for spots, and how Marmol will go about kind of assessing who will get what.
Yeah, I personally don't really see, let's say like Tommy Edman struggles for South Korea, but Mason Wynn goes off and Ollie sees Wynn every day, and then all of a sudden Wynn is like on the roster. Like I don't really think that's gonna happen in my opinion. But I will say this is a young player's dream right now. You have the manager, the head guy with his eyes on you every single day while all the
Hmm.
star players are off playing for the country. And so, if you're Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker, you're like, okay, if I go off, then I have a shot to really break the roster. But if I don't go off and I just, I play average or below average, then it's spring training, so who cares? Then I'll get better in the season. So it's like
Hmm.
it's really win-win for these young guys, and I bet I mean, if it's just a really good place for them to show off their skills.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're right. Being a young player's dream, it's just like there is, I guess the outfield is my biggest question, because there is so much unanswered questions. That you just don't know where any of them are going to play. And then the other thing is yeah, Mason Wynn is that guy that everybody's talking about, but you forget about Paul DeYoung. I mean, if Tommy Edman really does not play well, or if he gets hurt and Paul DeYoung is playing well, how does he not nab that spot? Like, there's so many different things that like can happen, and there's a different, again, approach to each game. I would hope that people in the WBC aren't approaching it as a spring training game. But and then that tidbit that I mentioned about how the rule changes aren't really affecting the WBC. I've heard Goldie and Nolan kind of say that it's a wait and see attitude. Like he said, I think Goldie said they adjusted to replay. Like we'll adjust to the new rules. But I mean, I'm seeing kids in college get rung up. I mean, the innings are ending, and they're getting rung up on this 8 second call. Like I just feel like if they're not seeing it every day before the season starts, there's going to be a big learning curve, and it's going to be interesting to watch and see how players adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest learning curves is going to be for pitchers, just because of that time, that pitch clock, and for hitters, I feel like it would be easier to adjust to the pitch clock. Maybe not, but I think for pitchers, that's where it's really gonna be tough for them. Like we said before we hopped on here, it would be nice to see the rules implemented in this year's WBC, but like you said, I mean, it's not affiliated. It's a lot of these other teams aren't affiliated with the major leagues, so it'll probably take them a few years or maybe never to implement these rules. I don't even know how like the Japan league. I don't even know how their shifts work, if they do shifts. I don't know anything like that. But or the KBO. I was like,
Yeah.
what's the name of that league? The KBO. I don't know what their rules are, and maybe in 4 years we'll see these rules implemented in the WBC. But yeah, it'll be an interesting test when they come back for sure.